The Shaw Classic is over for 2022. What a fantastic competition it was, and we're here to bring you our analysis as always. So Auntie Liz, Shaw Classic is done and dusted. Fantastic show, really great 2 days of Strongman. What did you think about the show?
Oh, I absolutely loved it. And it's, he's made it much bigger each year. That comes with risk, obviously. As you're growing it, you're bringing in a bigger audience, more elements to it as well with doing the pro women and the open show. But I really loved it. I thought it was a great competition, but let's get into the events.
So starting off day 2 with the log lift, 3 different logs, and 1 rep on a heavier log would be any amount of reps on the lighter logs. Different element to this, a little bit of strategy may be needed. I think looking at the numbers, you can see the athletes were feeling fatigued by this point.
Yeah, and we shouldn't forget, it was like they'd done a full competition the day before, and you know what your body feels like the day after a competition, so...
Full competition the day before, plus competing at altitude. A lot of the guys are not used to that element as well, so tough contest. And a tough log lift. A lot of guys really struggling, even on the lightest log. 172 kilos, there or thereabouts for the first log. 410 pounds or 185 kilos for the middle log, and then they had the 200 kilo 440 pound big monster.
I think maybe I missed it. My only issue with this is I wasn't sure how the scoring was working, so I couldn't tell if, because some guys went lighter than middle, some guys just went middle, but it seems that was
all that mattered was getting the heavier log. So 1 single rep on a heavier log would be any amount of reps on a lighter log. We have to start off with the winner of this event. Trey Mitchell, just coming into this competition in incredible shape.
Impeccable shape.
He went for the heavy log and he got 2 reps on the heavy log. That is impressive considering he was the only athlete that could press it.
He was in the end.
And when you think who we had in there, we had Bobby Thompson, who is the current American log lift record holder. We had Zydrunas Savickas, former world record holder in the log lift. Some other great log lifters as well, but Trey has just turned up to this show in form. So Brian Shaw came second on the log, another solid performance from Brian, and that was the case with Brian throughout this whole competition. No weaknesses. We always said that would be the case with Brian. You could see well prepared on every event. Came in focused on the middle log. He focused on getting reps on that, and he got second place secured. 2 reps with the 185 kilo log, securing big points once again for Brian. Mitch Hooper, he did awesome on this as well. He got the rep on the 185. Took a risk then and went for the heavier log. Didn't pay off. Maybe he could have got another rep or 2 on the middle one if he focused on that. But he knew, being a fair few points behind the top 2 guys after day 1, he had to take a couple of risks if he wanted to try and pull himself back into contention. But a solid performance. The shock for this one was Bobby Thompson.
Oh, I felt so bad for Bobby because he went straight for the heavier log, and this is a fine sized log for Bobby, isn't it? But
normally you'd expect Bobby to get this type of weight. I have seen that he picked up or he re-injured his hamstring in the warm-ups. And then I think it tweaked it even worse going for his attempt. Wasted, I don't want to say he wasted energy, but that was the case.
Go for it,
9 times out of 10, Bobby gets this log. Went for the heavy log straight away. He wasn't going to waste energy trying to go for the lighter ones. Unfortunately, didn't pay off. Then he had to move back to a lighter one, and then it really started to aggravate his hamstring, and the energy's kind of gone then. So a disappointment for Bobby. Ended up having to pull out after this event because he had a great day 1 as well.
He did.
Good seeing Bobby in good shape, but unfortunately, injury picked up there. But the top 3 on this one: Trey Mitchell, Brian Shaw, and Mitch Hooper. The only other people that managed to get the middle log was Alexei Novikov and Maxime Boudreau.
Better event for Maxime after what was probably for him quite a disappointing day 1.
Absolutely. So event number 2 on day 1 was the medley. It was an 800 pound frame into a 700 pound arm over arm.
It was rough, was it? It was great. It was
a
brilliant.
good event to watch. I really liked this one. It was, the challenge of having to carry that frame first. You could see by the time the athletes were at the rope, 9 out of 10 of the guys were just kind of wrapping that rope around their wrist. Their grip was gone. And a couple of the guys that kind of went for as long as they could without wrapping around. You could see their grip was starting to go, the rope was starting to slip through their hands.
It happened to Mitch, didn't it?
It did. This was a challenging event thought out by Brian and his team. So Maxime was unbelievable on this event. You said he'd be great with his Canadian grip, as you like to go on about. Very solid on the frame and exceptionally quick when it came to the arm over arm. Evan Singleton was probably the other way around, the fastest guy, I think, on the frame. Solid on the arm over arm, just not quite as effective as Maxime, but big points for Evan. It's good to see him, especially after what happened last week, back doing what we know he's capable of.
Yeah, a pretty heartbreaking event for Alexei Novikov. Now, we did mention that there was something wrong with his bicep going into this competition. After day one, he broke 2 world records, and I thought, oh, do you know what? I don't think it even matters. But we started to see it here, didn't we? That he was a bit beat up at this point, and it was a shame because it's something you'd expect Alexei to do so well.
Especially the frame. I know his grip is a little bit suspect when things are exceptionally heavy.
Yeah.
But an 800-pound frame is well within his kind of ability. So I was a little bit surprised. But then, if you're picking up those injuries, it's I'd like to talk to him and find out exactly.
Well, apparently he said that because he'd been taking painkillers, it affects his grip. So there you go.
Yeah, I didn't know he'd said that, but could well be a factor. Kevin Ferris also performed really well on this, as did Brian Shaw, taking 4th place, and another Canadian. Actually, 2 more Canadians next. We had Gabriel Rayam with his best performance, and Mitch Hooper once again putting in a solid performance, picking up big points.
And this was by far the worst event for Trey Mitchell. I think he placed 12th on this, and this was always going to be like potentially the thing that stopped him from winning overall, wasn't it?
Yeah, this was always going to be the question mark because he was so good at everything else. So we move on to the leg press. Now, if I have one criticism of an event, it's probably going to be this one. And it's not the idea was brilliant. I thought visually it looked impressive. The car was huge. The frame was huge. The athletes looked small underneath. For me, watching as a fan, there was a lot of confusion. The referees were kind of like frantically waving their arms about. It was very hard to understand how many reps people were being given.
Yeah.
And it just looked like the athletes need a bit more familiarisation on this one.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I've been reading a lot of the comments. Some people, it's really divided opinion. Some people hate it. Some people think it has potential to be better, and some people absolutely loved it. Personally, it made me uncomfortable watching because a few of the guys looked so uncomfortable. And I think just because we're not there, we can't see and hear really what's going on the floor. You don't know, like Chad was on bum duty, and it was
one of the rules was that their backsides had to stay right into the bottom of the chair. And I think anytime someone's mask even came like half an inch up, he was kind of up and kind of waving his hand, disallowing reps. So there was strict refereeing throughout the whole of this competition, which is great. But we as fans need that relayed to us.
And I think maybe that's where the commentary team weren't being given enough information to relay back to us, because Nick Best had said, because he tested this out, that the machine, like depending on where you put your feet, it's almost pushing you up out of your seat and squeezing you out of it. So it seemed like actually it was really difficult to do, except for Mr. Brian Shaw, who had clearly figured it out.
Brian Shaw made this look very comfortable. He won with 8 reps, had his feet very high up. The other athletes were tended to be more in the centre.
Yeah.
And that's, understanding equipment. I said on the live stream yesterday, I saw the first time there was a safe lift at World's Strongest Man. Athletes struggled. The next year, once they got familiar with it, there was way more reps done. And I think it would be similar on this type of event.
Yeah.
But I think the concept of it was a great idea. I just don't think it worked as well as maybe Brian would have liked.
Yeah.
For the competition. I know a lot of athletes were worried about injury on this one. It was very, very heavy. I mean, 8 reps winning. A number of the guys zeroed. There was 1 or 2 reps here or there. So Brian Shaw taking the win with 8. Mitch Hooper with 7. Spoke to Mitch and he said strength-wise he had more, but it was a very uncomfortable machine and he was worried about hurting himself.
Yeah.
Zadrunas, 7 reps on this one.
We thought he'd be good at this.
Yeah, he's got strong legs.
Yeah.
And Trey Mitchell, another solid performance, taking 4th place. Kevin coming in 5th. Okay, so going into the Atlas Stones, it was all about Brian Shaw and Trey Mitchell. They were tied on points. Realistically, no one was going to catch them. They were way ahead of the rest of the field. And we got into an argument yesterday about who's going to win the Stones. You were saying Maxime's going to win. Maxime was a little bit off the pace. So,
Yeah.
you know, when you're not within that kind of challenge for the podium, especially when you think of who you're talking about. Trey Mitchell is an incredible stone lifter, as is Brian Shaw.
Yeah. I mean, Maxime,
as is Maxime.
He's usually a safe bet when it comes to a stone run like this. I stand by what I said.
No, he's a fantastic stone lifter, but when you think about winning a title, you know, those two guys are going to be on it.
Oh,
and such great stone lifters. You know, if Maxime was in that position where he's fighting for the title, absolutely. But he'd kind of come off the, you know, that pace a little bit. And this was all about Trey and Brian. Both of them were fantastic on these stones.
Yeah.
Trey was just a little bit ahead on every single stone, and he maintained great form, didn't make a mistake, kept himself cool under pressure, because when you've got Brian Shaw hot on your heels and you know how good he is at stones, there's gonna be that pressure. But Trey just took it in his stride. There was one event that was that we kind of expected to be a struggle for him, which was, but every single other event, Trey was unbelievable.
Yeah.
He came in better, in my opinion, than he was at last year's Shaw Classic.
Agree.
I think it's a scary prospect for all the other top guys going forward this year. If Trey can maintain this type of form, he is a beast and a potential World's Strongest Man winner.
So let's look at the overall scores and see how they compare to our predictions.
Yes, I knew Liz
Lozzie.
was getting excited about this part. We obviously did our predictions before the competition. My prediction was that Mitch Hooper would win, Brian Shaw would be second, Trey Mitchell would be third. I said Novikov fourth, and I said Kevin would be fifth. Kevin was sixth. So I think I did pretty well.
It's not bad. You had 4 out of 5 in the top 5 correct, and you had 2 of them in the right place.
Okay.
Brian and Alexi.
Go on, tell everyone how you did.
Wow. I had Trey Mitchell, then Brian Shaw, then Mitch Hooper, then, damn it, I just missed out. I had...
Maxime.
Who did I have? I had Maxime in 4th place and Alexi in 5th place. So I got those two the wrong way round.
You had the top 5 correct and just 2, 4th and 5th in the wrong order.
Just in the wrong order, yeah. But I'm happy with that. I think I did great.
Auntie Liz is the queen of the prediction
I
this
haven't
week.
been for a while. I've been off my pace recently. But these shows are becoming more and more difficult to predict.
They are. So many amazing athletes. I mean, you know, Trey Mitchell was brilliant. Brian Shaw was brilliant. Mitch Hooper. Mitch is
Let's
just...
talk about Mitch. Come on.
3rd place at the Shaw Classic, his 4th international show. He's been on the podium in the last 3, and the one before that was World's Strongest Man, which he made his final of. What a debut year.
3 months into his pro career, and he's been on 3
That's
podiums.
pretty exciting. It really is. Novikov taking 4th place. After watching Novikov last week, I thought he's going to really struggle this week.
Yeah.
After watching him on day 1, I thought maybe he could win.
Yeah.
But it did catch up with him. It wasn't the best day 2 for him, but still 4th place in such a strong lineup.
He's so impressive, Alexi.
is.
He was brilliant. And that brings an end to quite a long streak of him being on every single podium.
It's 11 competitions in a row he went where he was on the podium. So just missed out this time. And then Maxime in 5th place. And a really good solid day 2 for Maxime.
Yeah.
Probably not the day 1 that he wanted, but pulled himself back into the competition. The Shaw Classic was brilliant. I enjoyed the live stream. There was a few things I think that can improve. So sound quality was a bit off at certain times.
Yeah, it was. And it seemed like there were communication issues between the commentary team and the floor team.
I think for really allowing the commentators to do an effective job, they need to be given information all the time. They need to know how many reps people have done, how times that people have done, so they can relay all that information back to us. And it really just... it makes the whole experience a little bit more enjoyable.
Yeah, and easier to follow as well. And the same goes for like on-screen graphics and stuff. I think Rogue are really the sort of...
I think Rogue
gold
probably got
standard
the...
for
Yes, I
stream
would agree with
quality.
that.
But this is the first stream that they've done. I'm not mad at all about the stream quality. I think for the most part, the camera was where you wanted it to be, because that's an issue that we've had in the past in the Bahrain show last year.
There was sometimes on the dumbbell I felt on day 1 where...
I wanted to be able to see both, and they'd zoomed in on one,
But honestly, I think it's been a fantastic competition. I think Brian and his team have done an amazing job. And with Brian, next year will be bigger and better. And honestly, I thought all the athletes were fantastic, especially the top 8, 9, 10 guys.
Yeah.
They put in hell of a performance. Next year it's going to be exciting. We've got the winner of the Open who's going to be competing in this show.
Thomas Evans, yeah, and we should talk quickly about Thomas because he also won the Amateur Arnold qualifier this year. That means next year he's going to be at the Arnold Pro Show in Ohio, and he's going to be at the Shore Classic.
It's going to be a good year for him.
If he does OSG and gets top 3, he'll also be in a Giants Live. So, yeah, it could be a crazy year for Thomas next year.
Yeah, it just shows that talent that's out there. So many great guys competing in these shows. So really good to see new guys coming through. That's what I want to see. I want to see the growth of the sport. I want to see new guys coming through. You know, we want to see the best guys challenging in these big competitions.
And let's not forget also, obviously, there was a women's competition, and that was won, unsurprisingly in my eyes, by Victoria Long,
She
who
is
absolutely
an absolute beast.
beasted it, yeah. In second place was Olga. We love Olga, don't we? And she's a former Arnold's Pro champion herself. And then in third place we had Corey Butler. Which was
great to see Corey doing well.
Yeah.
But Victoria is amazing. I'm looking forward to OSG actually. There's going to be so many fantastic women competing in that competition.
It's going to be scary.
But this was all about Trey Mitchell. Unbelievable performance by Trey. Congratulations. He is now a 2-time winner of the Shore Classic. He's got a big future. Still very young man.
Yeah.
Just getting better every single year. Congratulations, Trey. Congratulations to Brian Shaw on putting on a great event. We enjoyed it. We hope you guys did too. We'll see you next time.